The lights inside the massive AGT theater dimmed until the room felt like a single held breath. From backstage, the Filipino LED dance crew light wire stood in a tight circle, hands stacked together, whispering a quiet prayer in Tagalog. They were young men and women from Quezon City, most of them former street performers who once danced under flyovers and basketball courts lit by broken street lamps. Their LED suits, handmade and repaired countless times, flickered softly as if sensing their nerves. This wasn't just a performance, it was the biggest moment of their lives. As their name was announced, they walked onto the stage to polite applause. From the judges' table, Simon Cowell leaned back slightly, arms crossed, his expression calm but curious. He had seen many LED dance acts before, precision, patterns, clean visuals, but also many that lacked heart. He glanced briefly at the crew's nervous smiles and mismatched shoes, then at the quiet confidence in their eyes. "Let's see," his face seemed to say. The music began with a single, slow heartbeat. Darkness swallowed the stage. Then suddenly, thin lines of white light traced the outline of a single dancer. The audience gasped softly. As the beat built, more dancers lit up, their LED wires forming shapes of houses, jeepneys, and narrow Manila streets. Without words, they told a story of growing up poor, of walking home at night, of dreaming big under small skies. Each movement was sharp yet emotional, every step perfectly timed. Simon leaned forward. The colors shifted from white to deep blue as the dancers formed the image of a child sitting alone, head down. Then, in a breathtaking transition, golden light exploded outward as the crew lifted that child high, symbolizing hope. The synchronization was flawless, but what truly hit the room was the emotion. People weren't just watching lights, they were watching lives. In the audience, hands covered mouths. Some were already wiping tears. The music changed again, this time blending modern beats with subtle Filipino rhythm. The LED wires painted the Philippine flag in midair, red, blue, white, and a glowing yellow sun. The crowd erupted in cheers, but the crew didn't pause. They flowed straight into the final section, where the lights formed beating hearts that connected all the dancers together, showing unity, family, and sacrifice. Simon's expression changed completely. His eyebrows lifted, his lips parted slightly. This wasn't just clever technology. This was storytelling at its highest level. As the final note hit, the lights snapped off. 1 second of silence. Then the theater exploded. The audience jumped to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Cheers echoed off the walls. Some people screamed. Others cried openly. Simon stood too. When the applause finally softened, Simon leaned into his microphone, shaking his head slowly with a rare smile. He spoke honestly, his voice calm but full of weight. He said that he had seen LED dance crews from all over the world, but what made Lightwire different was their soul. They didn't just perform, they made everyone feel something real. He said their story, coming from the streets of Quezon City to this stage, was exactly what this show was about. Then, without overthinking, Simon stood up again. The moment his hand slammed the golden buzzer, golden confetti rained down like sunlight. The crew froze in shock. One dancer dropped to their knees, crying uncontrollably. Another covered his face, unable to believe what had just happened. The audience roared even louder, chanting and clapping as the gold fell around them. Simon smiled softly, watching them hug each other beneath the rain of gold. In that moment, Lightwire wasn't just a Filipino dance crew anymore. They were finalists. They were proof that light can come from the darkest places, and that dreams from the streets of the Philippines can shine on the biggest stage in the world. Backstage, the world felt unreal. Gold confetti still clung to their hair and shoulders as Lightwire was gently guided off the stage, their ears ringing from the roar of the crowd. Some of them were still crying, others laughing through tears, repeating the same words over and over in disbelief. For years, they had danced on cracked concrete courts in Quezon City, dodging rain and noise complaints. Now, they were walking down a hallway lined with cameras, producers, and stunned crew members calling their names. Miguel, the team leader, tried to speak but his voice kept breaking. His hands were shaking, not from fear anymore, but from the sudden release of a lifetime of pressure. He remembered nights soldering broken LED wires in a tiny rented room, powered by borrowed electricity. He remembered being told to find a real job, being laughed at for chasing a dream made of light. All of it rushed back at once. When they reached the judge's area, Simon Cowell stood waiting. Up close, he wasn't the intimidating figure they had imagined from television. His expression was serious, but his eyes were warm. He extended his hand, then pulled Miguel into a brief hug that stunned the entire crew. Simon spoke quietly, almost privately, telling them that what they had done was rare. He said technology doesn't impress him anymore, but honesty does. And tonight, they were honest. Simon explained that he felt the story immediately. He saw struggle, family, and hope without a single word being spoken. He told them that the moment the Philippine flag appeared in light, he knew the buzzer was coming. "You didn't copy anyone," he said. "You showed us who you are." The other judges joined in. Heidi said she felt chills from the first second. Howie admitted he forgot he was judging a competition and felt like he was watching a movie about real people. Sophia wiped away tears and told them their performance reminded her why dreams matter, especially when they come from hardship. As cameras rolled, the crew shared pieces of their lives, parents working overseas in Dubai and Riyadh, siblings left behind in Manila, long days balancing jobs and rehearsals. One dancer spoke about losing electricity at home and practicing choreography in total darkness, counting steps by memory. Another admitted this was the first time his parents ever saw him perform on a big stage. Outside, social media was already exploding. Clips of the performance spread across the Philippines within minutes. In Cebu, families gathered around phones. In small barangays, people cheered like it was a championship game. Teachers paused classes. Jeepney drivers honked in celebration. The word "pangarap" trended everywhere. Back in the dressing room, the crew finally sat down, exhausted. No lights. No music. Just silence and reality settling in. Miguel looked around at his team, people who had become family through struggle. He reminded them that the golden buzzer wasn't the end. It was a responsibility. They were now carrying the hopes of countless Filipinos who saw themselves in that glowing story on stage. As the night ended, Simon watched from a distance, arms crossed again, but this time, he was smiling. He knew he hadn't just sent a dance crew to the live shows. He had uncovered something special. Something unforgettable. And for Light Wire, the journey from the streets of Quezon City to the world stage had only just begun. The days that followed felt like a dream that refused to fade. In a small rehearsal studio in Manila, Light Wire stood in front of a cracked mirror, staring at their reflections as if they were seeing themselves for the first time. No stage lights. No LED wires glowing. Just tired faces, nervous smiles, and hearts still racing from what had happened. The golden buzzer had changed everything, but it had also raised the weight of expectation. Their phones buzzed non-stop. Messages poured in from Quezon City, Cebu, Davao, and tiny barangays they had never visited. Parents thanked them for giving their children hope. Overseas Filipino workers sent voice notes from night shifts abroad, saying they cried watching the performance alone in distant countries. Each message reminded the crew that their story was no longer just theirs. During rehearsals, the pressure was intense. Simon's words echoed in Miguel's mind, "Don't lose the honesty." They weren't trying to outdo the lights anymore, they were trying to deepen the story. They redesigned their LED patterns to reflect real memories, a flickering bulb during a brownout, the glow of a cell phone screen during late-night video calls with parents overseas, the soft light of dawn after a sleepless shift. Every movement mattered. When they returned to the AGT stage for the live shows, the atmosphere was different. The audience already knew their name. Whispers followed them as they walked out. Simon watched closely, no longer skeptical, but deeply focused. This time, when the performance ended, he didn't jump up immediately. He nodded slowly, eyes locked on the crew. That nod meant more than applause. Afterward, Simon spoke openly on camera. He said light wire reminded him why he still believed in talent shows. Not because of spectacle, but because of truth. He explained that greatness doesn't always come from perfection, it comes from purpose. He admitted that pressing the golden buzzer wasn't about hype, it was about recognizing something that deserved to be protected. As the season moved forward, light wire became more than competitors. They became a symbol. Children taped LED strings to their clothes and danced in schoolyards. Local news stations across the Philippines shared their story. In Quezon City, a mural appeared on a concrete wall, bright lines of light forming dancers reaching upward. One night, after rehearsals, Miguel stood outside the theater alone, looking up at the city lights of America. He thought of home, the noise, the chaos, the warmth. He whispered a quiet promise to himself and his team: no matter how far they went, they would carry the streets of the Philippines with them. Because light wire was never just about lights. It was about showing the world that even in the darkest places, Filipino dreams know how to shine.